you've gone out, you've seeded your application. Now we can go back and take a look at how that all turned out throughout the entire season. In order to do that, we'll want to take a look at Analyze tab. So we click on Analyze. Let's say we want a full report of everything that we did this last spring here for planting. We select Analyze. We can see our seeding from 2020. So let's say, obviously we don't have any current data on spring planting of 2021, so we'll just use 2020 as an example here. But we're able to see all of our fields that we planted, how many different varieties were on each of those fields. So we can see on test, we have 16 different varieties, whereas East Bluff, we had just one variety. We can also see how much area was seeded for each of these for a grand total of all of our fields combined that we had planted. We can see our total seeds that we used, our average seeds per acre that we used to plant, and as well as the speed that we were planting at. So over here we can see that we were planting East Bluff at 6 miles per hour, and we were planting the test plot at 8.0 miles per hour. So now let's say we wanted to take all of that information and we wanted to export a nice little report for that. Up in the top right, we'll see Export, and we want to select the PDF Detailed. So now that will start downloading down at the bottom of our screen. We select Seeding 2020 Corn. And we'll get a nice little summary of all of our seeding that we had done this last year. It will also include a list of all of our different varieties that we had planted, or all of our different hybrids that we had planted in those fields, as well as all of the seeds per acre and everything that we had done for totals. So you can go ahead and X out of that. Additionally, one other thing that we want to take a look at and ensure is that if we wanted to see all of our crops, we can go up here, click on that corn. Obviously for this one, we only had corn planted in our data here. So now if we jump back to 2016, we can see that we have multiple different crops that were planted. So we can select just the corn fields, we can select just the soybean fields, or we can do select all in order to get an overall summary of our entire farm that we had planted. So we'll just hit select all. And then we can see which fields were planted with what crop type. And then we can export that report, and we have a really nice quality summary of everything that we had done from spring planting. So now we can move on to, let's go open up that Analyze menu again one more time. We can go into Field Analyzer. So now you've gotten all of your planting done, you've collected all that data onto your display, we have it uploaded to our Operations Center account. Field Analyzer and Field Analyzer Beta are the exact spot that you would go to in order to take a look at that as planted data. So let's go into South Bluff. So additionally, if you have your account connected to Granular, it will also automatically bring in those profit maps to your field. So we can go in here, we can say, let's say we want to look at the corn seeding from 2016. We can scroll in there. Now we can see a nice as planted map of that South Bluff farm from 2016. We can see our legend right here. We've got our seeds per acre, our average area worked, total applied seeds. Now let's say we were, maybe it double counted a few of our acres that we were planting while we were planting it. Now, we would be able to go back in here into Field Analyzer and be able to Post-Calibrate. Now, the way that you would do that is by going right here to this gray pencil. So we would select that gray pencil. We can change our variety if you change that variety over, or you can change our area worked. So let's say instead of variety 1, we decided to plant Decalb 4938. So we select that, it will change it over to Decalb 4938. Let's say instead of 30.12 acres that we planted, we actually planted 29 acres. So we would go in here, select 29, and then we would go down here to the bottom right and select Save. It would then reprocess that map, get it so that it actually has correct data in the background here, and then we would be able to print that off as well. So we can go back down here, scroll in. So now, now you can see that it has changed that area worked to 29 acres. If we were to go into our varieties, we can now see that that has changed to DeKalb 4938 as 100% of what we had planted there. Let's see. If you wanted to delete a layer of your data for whatever reason, maybe it didn't turn out the way that you wanted it to, or it didn't look correct, maybe you changed, or maybe a field of yours changed hands. If you want to delete that out, we can go up to this trash can icon that's right next to that. We would select that, and then we would hit delete. For this, we're just going to hit cancel here because we don't want to lose any of our data, but that is just the way that you would do it. So also at the bottom, you'll see your timeline of everything that you had done throughout the year. So we have our tillage pass, we have our application and seeding. So at the same time as they were seeding, they also did a starter fertilizer put down. You can see our herbicide and foliar application happened in beginning of June here. And then we can see our harvest time, which happened in November. So let's just click on harvest once. So now we can see our harvest map here. We can also see what the exact date was that we had done this harvest or this application. So up here, right next to where our trash can or our pencil mark are, we would be able to see what that date is. So now that we're back on our seeding map, so we'll go to our 2015 soybeans for this example. It pulls it right up, nice and close. Now let's say you wanted to print out this map for your crop consultant or for your insurance agent. We would be able to go up to those 3 bars that are up in the top right. We select that, and it'll give us a drop down that we can select print. In regular Field Analyzer, it'll put it into this nice little report. It'll show, you'll be able to zoom in, zoom out based off of what you want your actual map to look like. And then we can scroll down and we can see all of our different agronomic data that was included in here as well. So that's where you would do that. Now, if you wanted to X back out of that, you have to scroll all the way up to the top of the PDF and you want to hit that X button up there. Otherwise, if you wanted to print it, you would hit the print button up in the top right next to where that X was. But we can also go into here and select compare. So we can go in here. Maybe we wanted to take a look at a side-by-side comparison of our harvest of 2015 versus our seeding of 2015. And we can maybe draw some conclusions that, let's say right here, we had some red marks, so indicating that we had very low production there. Over here, we can also see that our seeding rate was actually lower than what it typically would have been. So, you know, maybe taking a look at, okay, this is the headlands, so on and so forth, drawing conclusions from that. Additionally, at the bottom, it will show you the information from both of those. Or if you wanted to go into a difference map, we can go up to the top, select difference. And we can compare year over year of our corn average from multiple seasons versus our corn average from the one season. So we would be able to see how productive that ground is and how your hybrids have been performing in that ground. We can see the actual difference map over on the right-hand side. Green obviously means that we've got a higher yield in that environment versus white, which is about average, and red, which would be 5% lower. So, and that's the quick overview of regular Field Analyzer. Now that we've gone over some of the features of regular Field Analyzer, we'll be transitioning into Field Analyzer Beta. There are 2 different ways that you can get to Field Analyzer Beta from this page here. The first would be either selecting this yellow Field Analyzer Beta button, or go back up to our Analyze tab at the top, open it up, and go to Field Analyzer Beta. So now that we're in Field Analyzer Beta, we can see all of our different fields that we have listed here. For this example, we're going to go to the South Bluff field. And now we can see all of this different area here that we've got for South Bluff field. For our operation, we're going to just be selecting up at the top, first operation. So let's go into our corn seeding from 2015. So keep scrolling down, and it's right, or soybean seeding. Let's do soybean seeding of 2015. We select that. Now, Field Analyzer Beta takes a little bit longer time just because it has more data points and gets down to a much lower level than what the regular Field Analyzer would. So now we can see that it pulled up our map. We can see all of our different planting rates according to our legend. With Field Analyzer Beta, you are also given the opportunity to edit a legend. So if we select here, we click on that pencil mark underneath the legend. We can then go in here, we can select and change what our different colors are and what they are associated with for data points. So maybe we want to add more colors, more levels to it. We can hit this plus sign up here. Maybe we want to make it so that there are only 3 different colors. We can hit the minus sign until there are now only 3 different colors. So now we will just put it back to our regular 5 by hitting the plus sign up there. Now we got it at 5, and then we can hit save. And then that will go ahead and change all of those different colors so that they are more accommodating towards this new legend that we just created. Additionally, we can go over here on the left-hand side. We see Overview. So after we had selected our field, we can change it to Compare, Overlay, or a Difference Map. So for this one, we're going to do some comparing. Now we've got our seeding from 2015. Now we can go over here to our second operation. We hit Select an Operation, and we could use a Surgo map or a soil testing map and compare it against that. This will give us a nice easy layout of what the different soil types are that are in that field. We can figure out, okay, so we've got all of these different varieties that we could potentially plant here. What's going to be the best variety or best hybrid to go on this ground based on what that soil type would be. So we can use that in conjunction with the crop planner, as well as in conjunction with what our harvest is at the end of the year. So if we go back to Overview, we can see, and we have those 2 still selected here, the Surgo map and the seeding map. We can see a data analysis tab that gives us our average rate applied on the different types of soil. So we can select out each different type of soil, and it will highlight that on the map for us as we go here. And we can select all of them, we can select only a couple of them, whichever way you want to look at it. But it will show you the exact amount of seeds that we applied on each soil type and what the target rate was on those as well. Now that we've done that, we can go into our yield by soil type. So instead of having our seeding by soil type, we can go into our 2015 soybean harvest. And it will load up all that information again. So once again, we've got our soil type map here. So we've got all of that information, and we can see what our average dry yield was per soil type. So that way, next year or in 2 years, when you're working on trying to figure out what would be the best variety and what will make the most profit on each different soil type, you can take a look at each of those and be able to determine what would be the best variety to put back into that field. So if we want to see a breakdown of how each variety did, or each hybrid did in this case of corn, we can go in, we can select the harvest of that year as the first operation. So we're looking at the dry yield on this particular one. And then the second operation, we would select corn seeding. So we select that, we do our varieties, and under data analysis, we'll be able to see what the yield was per variety. So we see we've got 2 different varieties. The first one only ended up yielding 4 bushels per acre on that, or four total dry bushels, but it averaged 99.8 bushels per acre. On the 211.97, we averaged 155.1 bushels per acre. So we can see that the 211-97 probably performed better across the soil than the variety 1. Another thing that you want to do, or that we have the opportunity to do, would be going and diving deeper. Let's say we wanted to, we see a section of the area here, and we want to dive deeper and see why was it up here that it was so much lower yielding. We can go in here and we can select the Draw Polygon tool, and that will open up all of our tools across the top here. Now we can just select the polygon tool and we can create a box or any sort of shape and be able to do subfield analysis to figure out what's going on in that field and try and draw some conclusions to help us be more profitable in the future. Additionally, if you had your overview changed over to compare, over on the left side here, if you select it in one, it'll actually select it automatically in the other for the exact same area. Maybe you wanted to change and look at your dry yield from 1 year versus your dry yield to the next year. You would be able to then draw that conclusion from there as well. Now, if you want to go back to your regular full field analysis, we can just hit clear, and that will open it back up to your entire field. The last thing that I wanted to cover on here was being able to print and export. So if we go up to the top right, we can select export. You can then export and print off that comparison map, as well as having the next page showing all of your information based on that. So you can see your varieties are listed on this map. We can see when it was planted, when it was harvested, what the start and end date were for all of that information. So then we can go down to the bottom right and hit print, and it will print that off for you all on that 2-page. Typically, when I'm using Field Analyzer Beta, I try to use front and back printing so that it's all on the same page, and we can take a look at that. So now we've gone over Field Analyzer and Field Analyzer Beta. We can go back up to Analyze again, and we'll just get into just a little touch on the machines here. So we select Machine Analyzer. We'll be able to analyze all of the different machines that are across your fleet. So on the left-hand side here, you won't have anything showing up on the right until you select something in this side here. So now we can see all of our JD-Link enabled machines. So we're able to select these tractors here. Now we've got the one JD-Link enabled machine here that we can click on. We can select the tractor, the 9470R, and then we can click on that tractor as well. And that will bring up where it's located, what our fuel gauge is at. So we can see that it's at 11.6% fuel. So now I know that I have to send the fuel truck out to try and fill that up. Make sure that you can keep your workers moving constantly. That way you're able to save yourself time and money and avoid any sort of sitting still. Another thing that you can do is be able to view your fuel rates that are being used by each machine. So in order to do that, we go to Edit Views, we scroll down and select New View, and then we can type in what that view is that we want to see. So for this example, we'll type in fuel rate. Next, we'll click on the fuel drop-down and select the drop-down over by overall fuel, and we can see that it has all three of these different sections: fuel consumed overall, our average rate overall for gallons per hour, as well as our fuel tank level. Those are all listed. So now we can go ahead and hit Next. We hit Save. And now we'll be able to see what all of our fuel is consumed here. So we can change what our dates are of that range that we're trying to take a look at. Could be from this year, last year, rolling 12 months. Or we could take a look at a custom date range. So if we select custom all the way at the top, click on that, we can then determine, let's say we had a certain operator operating it at one time and a certain operator operating it at a different time. We would be able to cut it down to a date or time measurement to be able to see how much fuel was consumed while each operator was going, and kind of draw some conclusions as to why maybe one was running more efficiently than the other. Additionally, if we had more than one tractor, instead of just doing the one specific machine, you could select Organization over here on the filter button. And that would give you a breakdown of your entire organization and all of the different tractors, the different combines, anything that you would be looking at as long as you have them selected on the left side. So once again, only JD-Link enabled machines will show up on this report. If you wanted to download and export this file here that we're seeing, we would just go over to the top right-hand side there, hit the down arrow, select export. We will want to download it either as a PDF or PDF print typically, unless if you want to look at an Excel spreadsheet. So go ahead and hit export, and it will show all of these different columns once we have that information all exported and downloaded. So now we can open that up and get a good view of what that tractor looks like, what your overall organization looks like as far as fuel consumption, and what your farm looks like. So now we're just going to X out and we can go move into the More tab now that we have finished up with the Analyze tab.